Hey guys, and welcome to this training about AI answering service ROI calculator. So you might have your own AI answering service because this calculator is open to the entire marketers community, any agency. You don't have to be an umbrella member. But if you don't currently work with an AI agent or voice AI, let me give you 1 minute about it so you'll understand what this calculator is about. Today, we have a lot of businesses that are not getting back to leads, that are not answering their phone because they're on the field. They're not answering their phone after hours because it's after hours. They can't afford a full-time receptionist. And even if they do, the receptionist is not a person that is trained on sales. They're not sales savvy. They're not up to date always with all the products, and the conversion rate that they have are pretty low. But thanks to AI, we have a product called AI Agent that can basically answer all these phone calls and knows all the product information and sells very well, is always happy, always kind, and can automate also scheduling a booking or sending an email to the person they talked with or notifying the DM. And the cost to agencies is cents, and our members in Umbrella are selling it for 80 cents, $1 a minute, basically making 90% profit margins and helping their clients in the same time, saving money with manual receptionist services, answering services. So let's see how we do an ROI calculation for the service, which is extremely effective and extremely profitable. All starts again with the average LTV, with the LTV, which is already an average. We already covered it in the SEO training, but if you haven't watched it, I'll cover it again very quickly. Average purchase value per year. Let's take an example, a hairdresser. Okay, so average purchase value, that's the average ticket, let's say $100. Let's say the average number of purchases per year is 4, meaning every 3 months a lady goes to a hairdresser, just as an example. And average customer retention time, let's say a person stays with their hairdresser for 3 years. This would give us $1,200 lifetime value. Let's take another example. Let's say I'm a roofer and my average job is $6,000, but for a specific client, I only do one job. So maybe with your prospect or your client or the person you're going to show it to, maybe they already know that they're going to do 1.5 jobs per client over the years, over 10 years, and then you can put different numbers here. But with roofers, because usually, people don't work on their roof many times over in a frequent period, it's usually a one-time big job. And then, maybe 10, 20 years later, another job. So for the sake of this example, I took a roofer and I said $6,000 lifetime value. I know some of you may think it's a bit low, but remember, it's just an example. It's not critical that I'm right. You would be right knowing the prospect you're working with. Next, we need to understand their current status on their inbound calls. Okay, they might not remember, so it's very easy to probe. Call received per day. Your prospect might say, I don't remember, I don't this. To say, okay, fine. Per week. Yesterday, what happened? And then he says, I got this call, let me go through my phone. Let's say he gets back to you 10 calls a day, 5 calls a day. And then you probe with a few more questions. Are you sure? Do you think it's like a usual day? Usually it's more, usually it's less. You talk about it and you reach the fact that, let's say it's not a very savvy prospect. They get 6 calls per day from potential clients. Okay? The percentage of calls that are from potential clients from potential clients, excuse me. The percentage of calls that are unanswered because they're on the field, they're working. You ask them. They say, they'll shoot something. They'll say 30%, 40%, 50%. You'll say, okay, let's go through it yesterday. Let's see how many you answered and how many you didn't answer. They go through it. They realize that they don't answer 70% of the call. But let's say for the sake of this example, we say 50% are unanswered. Now, in some businesses, there is a receptionist or there is some sort of answering service. So it could be that the only phone calls they're not answering is after hours. So maybe after hours, it's only 10%, right, of calls, because most calls come during working hours. People don't call at 3 a.m. for a roofer. And then the percentage of mismanaged calls goes up because you can ask the person you're working with, okay, so you have a receptionist, go through the process of what she does. Does she know how to sell to the client? Does she know how to bake them? Does she know how to provide a quote? Does she know your pricing? Does she know all the products that you have? Does she know how to describe them well? And let's say not so much is the answer. Let's say that 30% of the calls are mismanaged. And the conversion rate of the calls to sales. Okay, so from the sales that were managed well, which is in this case about 60%, which is not bad, how many of them were actually converted into sales? So let's say again we'll use the 10%. We don't know. Maybe it's 20%. Maybe it's 25%. So we get an answer at the end. The answer is total call value per month without AI answering, meaning taking into consideration 10% are not answered and 30% are mismanaged, is $64,000. Total call value per month with AI answering, meaning taking care of these 10% and these 30%, is $108,000. And basically they're losing $43,000 a month in potential revenue by not having these systems in place. Okay? It's a very simple ROI to show a person. It's more leaving money on the table than money that you can get, but it's very easy to prove. Why? You're saying to the client, okay, this is a big number, right? Now, to prove to you that I'm fair, let's say I'm wrong. Let's say I can't get you another $43,000. Let's say I can get you another $15,000, but I'm only going to charge you $500 a month. Is that fair? If I'm only going to charge you $1,000 a month, but I get you 15, is that good? Okay, cool. So you're only getting 6 calls a day. You don't need to buy a big call package. You need, let's say, 2 hours of conversation a day, right? Times 30 days, usually less because, the office is actually open 22 days in the week, but let's say 30 days, 60 hours. You need from me 60 hours. 60 hours is 3,600 minutes. I'll get you an amazing package for $2,000 a month, but we can get started even with $1,000 a month. See how it works. If I can prove to you in a couple of months that it generates another $10,000, $15,000, you'll keep that, right? Yeah, okay, great, let's get started, right? Now, you won't have a problem because your margin is like 90%. So even if you take it down from a $3,000 potential sale to a $1,500 potential sale, your margins are still 45%, which is not bad for not doing anything and letting the voice AI basically do all the conversation with the client, helping with the clients of your client, helping them secure more leads and more sales. Next coming up is video about LSA. Going to be a different video. LSA is super important. Local service ads from Google, get businesses endorsed, get businesses getting calls directly from Google and only paying when a qualified call comes in. It's an amazing service. We'll talk about it in a second.